What is going on, Governors? Chisgule here, and today we're going to talk about how you can create the ultimate jumper account, landing in a new kingdom with a ton of power. We spent the last 45 days coaching my good friend Talerion, who has joined us on the show to talk all about it. Talerion, welcome.
Thank you, Chisgule. I am very happy to be here.
Before we get started, it is important to mention that I am sponsored by the makers of Rise of Civilizations, and we're going to be creating awesome content, bleeding edge stuff for you every single day. So if you like that, you should totally like and subscribe so you can know when the newest stuff is coming out. So, with that said, a jumper account takes advantage of something called a beginner's teleport, which allows you to go from one kingdom to another. It's the only item in the game that currently lets you do something like that. And so the goal with a jumper account is when you are starting a new account, you try to get as much power as you can before landing in your final kingdom. So, Talerian, you went through this process. You first created a brand new account, learned the game, and then you went through some coaching with me to explore doing this whole sequence. What are the advantages of doing this jumper account strategy?
So that's correct. The Some of the advantages I got were basically most of the people who are starting are at day 1. When the new kingdom came out, I was already at about day 9. So I had 250,000 power largely tied up in commanders and troops ready to hit the ground running, and I used that to sort of keep snowballing. So not only did I have this extra power, but it allowed me to get more resources faster with gathering. It allowed me to kill barbarians faster, and it allowed me to take advantage and win some of the early events that other people didn't quite have the power to kind of handle.
Nice. That's pretty concise, and I like it. So let's break this thing down. Let's break down our guidance into three phases. The first phase is your initial kingdom. The second phase we'll call the middle kingdom. It's your first jump. And the final phase is your final kingdom. It's your final home, the place you plan to stay. Does that sound good?
That sounds good. So these three phases, there were a few common things that kind of carried over from phase to phase to phase. I would say the biggest and most important tip I could give is patience. You have to stay under City Hall 7 or you will not be able to use your beginner's teleport. You want to stay under the radar. So by this, I mean you're going to be getting a lot of resources. And we'll go into that kind of what you want to focus on in each of the phases. But overall, you want to be making sure that you are spending everything you can in the Mysterious Merchant and now the VIP shop so that when someone comes scouting through, they don't see this level 7 sitting there with 30 million resources. Spoilers, something bad happens when you do that.
Oh yeah, that might have happened to you.
Yeah, we'll
So
go into that. Sorry.
that's all right. So let's talk about the first kingdom. Um, Besides the fact that you just alluded to avoiding getting attacked, I suppose you want to avoid going to your first kingdom when the mightiest governor is happening. Um, what
Yes.
what
No
kingdom do
kill
we
events for me.
choose? Yeah, no kill events. What kingdom do we choose here to get started?
So you want to choose an earlier kingdom. I would say suggest maybe before 41, and we'll talk about some reasons for that. But the most important is that the entire map is going to be cleared. So this initial kingdom, it's all about spelunking. That's right. You want to go from cave to cave to cave to cave, getting every single sort of level 1, level 2, and level 3 cave chest that you absolutely can.
So I've now pulled up on my screen. It's not on one of those earlier kingdoms, but it's in a kingdom where all of the fog has already been revealed. And I didn't do all this exploring. It was basically done for me by virtue of the kingdom events.
Correct.
And if I tap into the explore view, you can see here there's all of these yellow markers indicating that there are caves, indicating that there are little villages that I can go visit, and I can collect the goodies, which is pretty sweet. So, by virtue of going to one of these kingdoms where everything's already explored, you can just basically send your scouts along and clear everything out, right?
Basically, but that basically you just summed up 11 hours of my life. Sitting there and making sure that the scouts didn't go back. And I believe there'll be a link to a how to scout correctly video.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I've got a ton of those. I'll put links in the description for like the half a dozen different videos we link to. Um, I have a scouting video. You should watch it. It'll explain how to do that. This kingdom, you don't have to scout though. But what you do have to do is kind of watch your scouts as they're going along. If you are not careful, they'll run all the way to where they're going and then back to your city. And it's just a lot faster if you just keep sending them on their route. Cool.
Yes.
Okay. So, how long are we staying in this kingdom and what are we trying to accomplish besides getting all those goodies?
So I would recommend probably about a day or two. Like I said, I took a day off. It was around some sort of a holiday, and I sat there for 11 straight hours going from cave to cave to cave. Now, I don't think there's any reason to stay there once you complete that. So if you are able to actually take a day off and complete that in a day or two, you want to get out of that kingdom as fast as possible because you're City Hall 7 or maybe even 4 or 5 because you've only had a day and everyone else around you is between City Hall 21 and 25.
Okay. So, you want to get out of this kingdom. Now, before you do, you're completing your daily quests, right?
Correct.
And you're probably not claiming these other quests off to the side because they might give you resource rewards.
That's a great question. So I didn't complete any of the quests and I ended up with about 500 quests completed remaining to be hit once I got to Final Kingdom. However, I did complete the main quest. And the reason I did that is because it gives you Boudicca sculptures, which allowed me to then max out her first skill. And I wanted to do that before I pushed her up to 20. And I wanted to do that so I could have her running around with other commanders, basically power leveling up my gatherers so that when I hit the Final Kingdom, I had gatherers with their tier 2 skill maxed ready to go.
Awesome. Okay. So, it's worth mentioning, by the way, that you were getting Boudica because you chose Britain, and we would recommend
Correct.
Britain because, as a free to play player, battling against other people who have a bunch of edge because they might be spending money, getting more experience from hunting barbarians is a pretty big advantage, and you're going to have 10 days of spending down your action points. And this first
Absolutely.
kingdom is no exception. Spend down your action points, get all that value before you ultimately jump. So,
And you do have a Boudica guide that it wasn't out at the time, but you and I talked about it. It was right when the talent change happened, so I pushed very quickly to lower the action points, get the experience, and most importantly, those resource bundle talents. Oh man, 10 days of farming 15 resource bundles per barbarian added up so fast.
Yeah, Trophy Hunter is bananas. It's really good. I like it a lot. I use it in my on I think not on Boudica, but I use it on a couple other of my barbarian hunting tunes. Anyways, so the other thing worth mentioning is that you shouldn't open all these chests that you get from the caves, right? What happens to you, Talerion, if you open all the chests from the caves?
So I called up my good friend Chisgule and I said, "Hey, it's been so amazing. Do you know all the loot that I've gotten from these? I'm sitting here with about 35 million resources, and it's only been a day and a half or a day." And the first thing you said to me was, "Please, please, please, right now, stop popping these chests. Someone's going to zero you out." 3 days, I managed to make it 3 days of quietly sitting there, but 3 days later, yes, somebody absolutely came along, zeroed me out. I woke up and I found myself with troops completely killed because I didn't have the hospital size at City Hall 7 to sit there and carry all my serious wounded troops. And all of my resources were gone down to about 100,000 each because my storehouse was only City Hall level 7.
Yep. So, moral of the story: don't pop the chests from the caves because they contain actual resources, not resource tokens, and you can get seriously robbed if you're not careful. So, we've learned that lesson the hard way. Thanks for face
We did.
checking that, Talerian. Let's talk about going to the next kingdom here. What do we need to know about going to the Middle Kingdom using our first beginner's teleport?
Right. So going into the Middle Kingdom, you want to find one that is early enough, maybe 1 or 2 days old. So this means you're still honestly going to be a little bit more powerful than some of the people in there. And it's going to line you up to complete all of those beautiful, beautiful starter events that you get when you join a new kingdom. So Lohars is going to kick off after about 3 days. The supply box Clio event's going to kick off after about 7 or 7. So you kind of catch the tail end of that, and most importantly, the Rise of Civilizations event.
So I've got that pulled up now. You can take a look here. This event is held over the course of 8 days, 7 of which you can collect the rewards for participating. And those can be turned in for sculptures of your primary commander, but also sculptures of Cleopatra. Yes, please. Um, we have it on good authority from Silent Wraith in Discord that if you actually complete this event, it is possible that it might reset when you go to your final kingdom. And that is a really big deal because theoretically you might be able to do it twice. The event is specific to the kingdom, not to the character. And
The
we
one
were
caveat to that the one caveat to that is I didn't wait for the event to switch over, and my progress did carry over. So according to Silent Wraith, if it fully completes, your progress won't carry over. But if you use it ahead of time, like if you don't want to wait, or for whatever reason you're like, hey, my friends are jumping early, you will still have that progress carry over, and you'll still have whatever number of chests you've already unlocked.
So if you jump before this event ends, you'll get your chest level. I wish we had had the time to test this, but I really wanted to get this video out rather than wait another 10 or so days to do
Right.
that. So, anyways, um, test it out. Let us know. Drop it in the comments. Either way, you're getting great value and you're accumulating your progress toward this. Even if you don't get to do it twice, you absolutely want to be on this plan. And ultimately, during this remaining time before you make your final jump, you're spending your action points, you're accumulating power, you're exploring this entire map, which you can do all over again. Now you've got to send your
Right.
scouts all over the place, but you can do it. And you're trying to get as far as you can toward this who will reign supreme. And the way that you're doing that is not by building up your city, but just by accumulating resources, accumulating chests, accumulating things that will help you after you've made your final jump.
One thing that will carry over is experience. So I actually, as soon as I poured it in, I looked around for a guild that was near, or an alliance that was nearby, that wasn't going, had a super powerful requirement, but basically a mid-level alliance that I was able to join, and it offered me a little bit of protection. It offered me people to kill shrine guardians with to get that experience to start leveling up the gatherers. Because when I went to my final kingdom, my largest power was commander by almost double everything else.
Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Um, I love that. So let's say that you're sort of wrapping things up in this kingdom. Anything else that we need to talk about here?
One thing that we haven't mentioned so far is that you shouldn't be using any speed ups. You shouldn't
Mm,
be using any resource tiles. You're going to naturally complete all the buildings you need to complete, and you're naturally going to complete all the technologies you need to complete. Now, you may ask, okay, my daily objectives, I need to keep doing buildings and technologies. Well, one of the things you can do is a decoration actually counts as a building for that. So you may still need to use one of your boosts, but I think it's worth it in the long term because if you're following this guide correctly and you're dumping all of your RSS into the mysterious merchant, you're going to have a ton of those 8 and 24-hour boosts coming out of this.
nice. So good hack there. You can build decorations and it'll count towards your daily quest. I happen to have
Absolutely.
already collected that for today, so I can't show it, but you get the idea. So, how do we pick our final kingdom here? I believe that you looked for other people that were trying to do the same thing as you, right? Were you able to find some jumpers to go with?
I saw a couple of people talking about on Reddit, but nobody responded to my comments. So I did not actually end up finding someone. However, I got very lucky. So what I did was I watched the new kingdoms coming out and found about what time it was going. I wanted to make sure that I didn't, you know, accidentally jump too late in a kingdom that had been around for a day. So as soon as I woke up, I jumped to my latest kingdom. I got very lucky and I found another group of people, the core of which were jumpers as well. And we were able to start a very powerful guild that has snowballed and has kept us in Guild 2 power by a very small margin since inception of the guild
Nice.
or alliance.
So worth mentioning if you want to keep tabs on what kingdoms are new, you can sort of zoom out, click the globe in the bottom,
Right.
and you can keep an eye on this kingdom list and you can see when it's new. Now, this says new for this kingdom, but it's actually on its second day of life.
Mhm.
So you want to keep an eye on it so you can join on the actual first day of a kingdom's life. And you got to be careful. Your beginner's teleports only have 10 days of duration. So don't wait until that 10 days is up. Once it's up, it's up. That's that. And they're going to disappear. They're not going to ask nicely before they go.
Right.
So
Yeah.
make sure you get your final jump before that timer runs out. And then from there, you're really off the races to do really, really well.
It was honestly, it was a lot of fun. I had been sitting there patiently waiting to pop into City Hall 8. And basically, all the work that I'd done up front allowed me to hit that 1.5 million power, basically only paying for Road to Greatness. I think I might have done one legendary bundle after that, but that was around $35 that I spent. And I was able to hit 1.5 million power within the 7 or 8 days that event takes place. And that event, I'm pretty sure, gives you 10 golden keys in order to
Yes.
when you hit that.
Hmm. That's right. So I guess, and I'll show that here. It's got 10 gold keys, 8 15-hour speed ups, and 800 gems, which is pretty awesome. It's the Who Will Reign Supreme event.
Who will reign
So
supreme?
Talerion spent some amount of money, and he spent that money on the first recharge, and then the subsequent things are called the Road to Greatness. A lot of free value you get from that. One of the
Absolutely.
strategies you can use here, if you're interested in Richard the First and Yi Song Ye, which, by the way, you probably should be interested in them, is to get onto a very early kingdom number. I believe it's somewhere in like the 30s or less. It's possible to get those commanders from the tavern when you pop gold keys. The way that you can find out whether or not they're there is to tap the info button within the tavern, like I just did. And if you see the full commander available, or you see their sculptures available in the reward list for the gold key, then you know then that it is obtainable in that kingdom. So there's a couple strategies you can take here. One is to say, I'm going to keep creating these jumper accounts until I can get one of these in this first kingdom, right? Using the free gold keys I get. Another strategy I've seen is and this is bold. I wouldn't do this, but they go all in when they're on their very first kingdom. They buy all the way to the completion of the Road to Greatness, which gives you a bunch of gold keys, and they spend them all in that first kingdom to try to get Isong Ye or Richard the First. Those are both very powerful commanders. I don't know if I'd go that over the top, but like, look, if you have time, if you have time and don't want to spend money, that is a strategy that you can use repeatedly creating accounts, playing around. The one thing I'll say is that you can only have 2 accounts per kingdom, so eventually you're going to clog up doing that. Be careful. You can only have, yes, 2 accounts per kingdom, and there's only so many kingdoms available that even have this guy to be found in the tavern.
Right. So you'd get about 82 chances if you did that.
Yeah, yeah. Would not recommend going overboard, but you could try to get that extra value, and I think it's worth it. Any other major tips, Talerian, before we wrap this up?
Not tips, but I just want to say I think overall that it was worth it. It positioned me, like I said, to join a very powerful guild. I'm still with them now, and honestly, it's good people. It's a lot of fun. But it also positioned me to win some of the events that aren't necessarily going to be won by someone who's paying a lot of money. So I didn't really try for Mighty's Governor, but the Clio event, I took first place. I did this because I had a lot of my commanders maxed out. I had a lot of my gatherers maxed out, and I was able to use my peacekeeping heroes to kill a lot of barbarians in a short amount of time, allowing me to get 100 Clio sculptures. And I don't think I would have been able to do that if I hadn't been done all the jumping work.
Now, when we say maxed out, we mean like level 37 for your gatherers, which is the sort of maximum of the gathering tree talents that you'd want to get, right?
I didn't hit level 37 until after the Clio event, but I would say they were. I'll call it your soft max is 24 or 27, depending on
Okay.
the gathering hero.
Yeah, that's good. So, you were able to outgather everybody, which landed you 100 Cleopatra sculptures for that event, which is, I mean, amazing. Hello.
It's amazing.
The other thing you did to get Edge, I believe, is hunt a lot of Shrine Guardians, right?
Correct. I did that as part of the Clio event, and basically, I still do that now. I hunt
Mhm.
Shrine Guardians every morning and every evening, and my Buddhisia is 47, my Lohar's 46. All of my gatherers are 37 except for Clio, and then I have a assortment of other folks in the mid 20s.
All right, there you have it. Um, We've covered a lot of ground today, although I'm sure we missed some things. Let us know in the comments what we did miss, and we'll both be happy to field those questions and comments. Let's make this video and the comments contained below it a really good source for players to find out how they can use this beginner's teleport. And I've been saying this a lot recently, but this beginner's teleport is much more like the advanced player's advantage. If you know what you are doing, you can get so far ahead of everybody else. And to Telerian's point, you can sort of snowball. The idea behind that is, the snowball starts rolling down the hill and gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and becomes unstoppable. You too can accumulate so much power that you get an incredible start on your new kingdom. So, with all that said, Talerian, thanks so much for being here. Anything you want to wrap up with?
No, thanks for having me.
Awesome. My friends, thanks for joining us. Please do like and subscribe if you like this video. And until next time, my friends, you have fun smashing the kingdom.